Fritz Haarmann, one of Germany's most notorious serial killers, has become the subject of gruesome stories and fascinating research. His dark history is full of mysteries, creepy incidents, and repulsive details that still cause horror and awe. Let's dive into this scary story. Fritz Haarmann was born on February 25, 1879 in the city of Gelsenkirchen. He grew up in a poor family that often suffered from financial difficulties. The boy early showed a tendency to aggression and pathological lying. His early childhood was full of violence and psychological pressure, which could become a catalyst for his future crimes. As a teenager, Haarmann already led groups of hooligans. He gained a reputation as a violent young man who was not afraid to use force to achieve his goals. After finishing school, he started working in various professions, but never found stability in life. His personality became more and more unstable, and his dark side began to show more and more. In 1913, he began his first serious criminal activity, rape and murder. When the First World War began, Haarmann went to the front, where his character became even more acute. After returning home in 1918, he began a life of crime that led to numerous murders. The main feature of Haarmann was that he chose young boys as his victims. He lured them to him, promising a job or help in finding housing. After the young people fell into his hands, Haarmann would brutally torture them and then kill them. He dismembered his victims and threw their bodies into the Lech River. Haarmann was aware that his crimes had dire consequences, but nevertheless, his desire to kill and control young people proved stronger. He used his charisma and manipulative skills to gain the trust of his victims and then betray them. His criminal activities continued until 1924, when he was finally apprehended by the police. The case was extremely high-profile. It turned out that Haarmann had killed at least 27 young men. He claimed to have mercilessly killed and dismembered them. This case shocked German society and became the subject of active discussion in newspapers. In court, Haarmann tried to justify his actions, claiming that he was in the grip of his morbid desires. However, none of his attempts failed to frustrate the law enforcement agencies. The court found him guilty of murder and a number of other crimes. Haarmann was sentenced to death. He was not afraid of his punishment. On the contrary, he even bitterly admitted that he would continue the killings if he had a chance to be free. He was shot in 1925, marking the end of one of the most violent periods in German history. The theme of Fritz Haarmann remains relevant to this day. His story has been used in numerous documentaries, books, and articles, and has sparked interest in the psychology of serial killers. Why did he become a murderer? What factors influenced the formation of his personality? These questions remain unanswered in the future, but serve as motivation for studying the topic of serial killers. Haarmann became a symbol of the horrors that human nature can produce. His story reminds us that crimes can be caused not only by external circumstances, but also by internal demons. Perhaps, in his case, it was the consequences of a difficult childhood that left a mark on the young man's psyche and led to a tragedy. Fritz Haarmann left behind a huge legacy of fear and horror. His name became a symbol of crime, and his actions gave a powerful impetus to the discussion of the topic of serial killers. Haarmann's story prompts us to think about how society can prevent such heinous crimes in the future, and what can be done to save young people from the paths Fritz took. This terrible story brings to mind the importance of mental health and timely help for people who are experiencing difficulties in life. The first thing to do in such cases is to turn to specialists who can provide support and help find a way out of difficult situations. Fritz Haarmann left behind a dark legacy, but his story serves as a reminder that demons can live within each of us, and we need to be careful not to let them take over. In our world, it is important to talk about problems, seek support, and understand that violence cannot be the solution. This story of Fritz Haarmann will certainly live on in the nation's memory, as a reminder of the horrific nature of serial killing and its effects on society. We hope that this will not happen again and our world will become safer for all of us.